life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being. From the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Ready, Max? Go. All right. Hey y'all, it's JP and Max here to do a quick woo-way. The war has been continuing now in the Ukraine for 4.5 years. They're all out of Patriot missiles, and they've lost over 2 million casualties. They had 50 million people in Ukraine at one time, and now they're down to 20 million. Most refugees fled throughout Europe and left Ukraine because of this war. So Zelensky is all full of shit. He's full of shit. He's just a grifter trying to get money. Him and Bibi Netanyahu are working together. You know, they want to create chaos and profit from the chaos. And then you got the Hormuz Strait is back again. This is not going to end until we take out the mullahs entirely, and that's going to take a while. So they're going to be bombing. Price of gas and oil is going to go up, and things aren't looking good. We're at World War right now, and we are in the storm. So here's some clips from South Front Telegram. Hope you enjoy. Ready, Maxie? Go. Left, left. All right. Who's a good boy?
Look up on a clear night. You see a river of steel crawling across the dark. 10,000 blinking dots, and every one of them answers to a single man in California. That is the quiet truth of our age. Whoever owns low orbit owns the next war, because up there ride the radios, the drones, the eyes and ears of every brigade on the ground. And by the summer of 2026, the sky that once bowed to a single ruler has 6 players fighting over it. The old king, though, refuses to age. Starlink is still firmly on top. By late June, astronomers were counting more than 10,700 of its satellites overhead, 2/3 of everything humanity keeps alive in space. Washington has already blessed 15,000, Musk dreams of 42,000, and SpaceX flings up a fresh batch every 3 or 4 days. So much reach in one private pair of hands finally jolted the rest of the world awake. And they had good reason to worry. They remember Crimea, where the service was switched on and off at one man's word, a matter of public record, not conspiracy. The challengers, for now, are stumbling. Amazon limps along with barely 331 satellites against a deadline it has already begged to push back 2 years. Then come the two the West wrote off too soon. Start with Russia. On March 23rd, a Soyuz lifted its first 16 serial Rassvet Sunrise satellites from Plasets, raising Bureau 1440's fleet to 21. Small birds, but armed with laser links and plasma thrusters, and Putin himself hinted they will one day guide heavy strike drones. And Moscow plays a game no one else dares, a jamming signal, active since 2019 and striking only NATO states on working weekdays, has been traced to a Russian early warning satellite, the first nation ever to jam a global navigation system from space itself. China, by contrast, makes no announcements. It simply launches. Guowang, the state satnet program, widely reported to serve the PLA, passed 177 satellites in orbit from Wenchang. Xiangfan, 1,000 sails, a Shanghai-led commercial constellation, hit 200 birds on June 5th and 238 by July 5th, after the largest polar orbit launch to date. China cut first satellite manufacturing costs by 96% since the program began. This is the same industrial curve that killed Western dominance in shipbuilding, solar, and drones. The European Union's answer, IRIS², was signed on December 16, 2024, sold as strategic sovereignty, and immediately began slipping. Nominal architecture, 290 satellites. Nominal service start, 2030. First launches don't happen until 2029, and Brussels has already had to graft in 66 early delivery governmental satellites to plug the delay. Iceland and Norway signed on this June. The French Armed Forces, meanwhile, quietly bought guaranteed OneWeb capacity to bridge the gap until IRIS² materializes. France doesn't seem to fully believe its own timeline, neither does anyone else in Brussels. But the sky is starting to fight back. The same narrow band where these fleets now crowd is thickening with debris. Collision alerts multiply by the month, and every launch pulls the noose a little tighter. One bad crash could scatter a cascade of shrapnel that seals low orbit shut for a generation. Players are so busy grabbing the board that they may yet flip the whole table. So the sky no longer answers to one master, but that is exactly what makes the game so dangerous. What orbits above us has stopped being a router and become a weapon. Beneath Starlink already hums Star Shield, the Pentagon's own hardened fleet, and Moscow's birds are built to guide strike drones. By 2029, the board may hold 3 kings, perhaps 4, each with a hand on the switch. And in a war like that, the deadliest blow needs no missile. The winner will simply, on one silent evening, cut the rest of the world off and let the sky go dark.
The intensity of the strikes between Russia and Ukraine remains extraordinarily high. Both sides have been hitting major infrastructure, industrial, and military targets almost daily. The past 24 hours were no exception. On the night of July 7th, Russian drones destroyed 2 Novopashta logistics terminals. One burned to the ground after being hit in Samara in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The other was struck before dawn in Kryvyi Rih. Meanwhile, updated reports on the previous day's strike on the Vysar plant in Vishnivy, a satellite city of Kiev, paint an even grimmer picture. According to former Ukrainian parliament member Ihor Moisychuk, the facility stored depleted uranium rounds and cluster munitions directly adjacent to residential buildings. The resulting detonations destroyed 5 city blocks and forced the evacuation of local residents. These munitions were supplied to Ukraine by the United Kingdom in 2023 and by the United States for use in Challenger 2 and Abrams tanks. Ukraine, for its part, continued its efforts to isolate Crimea. Overnight, 2 electrical substations on the peninsula, Saki and Zapadna Krimskaya, were hit, leaving several settlements without power. Ukrainian forces launched a large-scale HIMARS barrage on the Russian city of Belgorod, firing 48 rockets. On the front lines themselves, the situation remained unstable over the past 24 hours. In the Sumy region, the Russian North Force continues to advance. As of July 7th, assault units had seized new positions north of Komrivka in the Shostka district. The protracted stalemate in Kupiansk appears to be breaking. The city has been the site of intense fighting for a long time, with neither side able to take full control. According to recent reports, Russian forces have intensified their offensive and made tangible tactical gains. Forward assault units are reportedly advancing toward the central railway station. The area near the Chevron and Oskol reservoir, where the Kupiansk and Limon sectors meet, is experiencing much more dramatic developments. Ukrainian forces are facing a deteriorating situation that cannot be reversed by reinforcements or drone saturation. Russian troops appear to be preparing a major operation in the area. The only viable option for Ukrainian command at this point would be to pull back to the Izium area and dig in. However, Sirskyi is unlikely to order a withdrawal, which means the sector north of Liman risks being overrun along with the troops holding it. Should that happen, the entire dynamic of this part of the front would change. Russia would gain a bridgehead comparable to the one at Tryvichna. The line would stabilize on more favorable terms. Conditions would be set for a major push both into the Kharkiv region and the Slavyansk axis.
Iran continues to tighten its grip on the Strait of Hormuz, despite facing a serious escalation by the United States. On July 7th, the Islamic Republic was accused of targeting 3 commercial vessels near the strategic waterway. The vessels were passing through the strait's Omani route, which the Islamic Republic previously warned against using. First, the Qatari liquefied natural gas carrier El Rakayat was hit about 8 nautical miles east of Lima off the coast of Oman. Later, the Saudi oil tanker Wedyan was targeted along the very same route. Soon after, a third, smaller oil tanker owned by South Korea, the Cyprus Prosperity, was struck there. The first 2 vessels sustained significant damage, and El Rakayat was even reported to be at risk of exploding. U.S. media reports said that all 3 vessels were targeted by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Qatar and Saudi Arabia officially held the Islamic Republic responsible. In an initial response to the attacks on the vessels, the U.S. revoked a general license that authorized the sale of Iranian oil. The U.S. escalated further overnight into July 8th, launching powerful strikes against Iran. Explosions were heard in areas west and east of the port city of Bandar Abbas in the southern province of Hormozgan. Additional strikes were reported in Siddiq County, also located in Hormozgan. Keshem Island was also hit. More strikes targeted the southern province of Bushehr. Meanwhile, in the city of Bandar el-Mashar, in the southwestern province of Khuzestan, a service member of the IRGC Navy was killed in a strike. Later, the Central Command announced that it had struck over 80 targets in the Islamic Republic. The targets included air defense systems, command and control networks, coastal radar sites, anti-ship missile capabilities, and more than 60 assets belonging to the IRGC Navy. CENTCOM said that the strikes were carried out to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking international commerce flowing through the international trade corridor. U.S. media reported that the strikes were ordered personally by the U.S. President Donald Trump and could continue in coming days. The response came fast from Iran, with the IRGC announcing that it had struck 85 U.S. military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. The Guards also said that an American MQ-9 Reaper combat drone was shot down over Bushehr. Both Kuwait and Bahrain confirmed coming under attack. The U.S. strikes were a major violation of the Memorandum of Understanding to End the War signed last month. A more elaborate response by Iran is to be expected, and the Islamic Republic is unlikely to halt operations in the Strait of Hormuz. Still, the deal is expected to hold up.
Shall be played